I read a rumor that even though Sabu and Paul Heyman haven't been in very good relations, that was a big conspiracy thing that the two of them organized to try to get publicity for both companies.
We can tell you firsthand that is definitely not true, and for a number of reasons. One, there's a lot of hatred there, and it can go back to not just using Sabu, but also some trademark infringement, potential trademark infringement. Shane Douglas going out there to help them, and believe me when I tell you this, there's no love lost between Paul Heyman and Shane Douglas. Tammy Lynn Sitch and Chris Candido going out to assist with the XPW program, no love lost, I guarantee you this.
Judge Jones.
That's right, Judge Jones. And what happened? Big Daddy Raj Cox, we've talked about it, and Sam, Sam basically one of the guys that have been in security, and Big Daddy was there. And they could tell you this thing erupted out there in California.
And remember this, the guy that owns XPW at one time tried to buy into ECW and was basically told thanks but no thanks. So there's some tension there because of that. Paul Heyman and the guy really don't like each other, and XPW, anytime anybody is gone from ECW, I forget, maybe it was Dave Shears mentioned one time, a popcorn vendor could be fired from ECW and XPW would sign him the next week. They want anybody they can get from ECW because, let's face it, they do play off on the Extreme name. They spell it differently, but certainly they're trying to market to that genre.
Okay, with Buff Bagwell coming back and the rumors of DDP coming back and everything, there's one name you haven't really heard lately. What's the deal with Chris Kanyon?
Chris Kanyon is actually going out with Jeremy Barash either today or tomorrow to film a German game show. That's the latest on Chris Kanyon.
Yeah, and they've talked about bringing him back, too. A lot of times people are repackaged. They're not going to bring him back with that dumb, Positively Canyon gimmick. He falls in right alongside, you got Sid Vicious that's out there. They're waiting to bring back. And I think that when this does happen, I don't know if it's going to tie into the sale or it isn't, but you're going to see something huge happen because there's a lot of big names that are out there not doing anything that I think that would bring, those names being used would bring fans back.
Yeah, I think if they're going to bring DDP back, they should bring Kanyon back with him and come back together.
Well, if Eric Bischoff ends up being the guy in charge, Canyon's in good shape because Canyon's good buddies with DDP, DDP's good buddies with Eric Bischoff, and a lot of stuff in wrestling is who you know and who you're friends with. So Canyon's in a good position if that happens.
And Julia was right. The two guys in the gold suits were definitely Edge and Christian. You could see Christian's hair coming down the back of his mask when he was climbing into the ring.
Julia pegged it.
Yay. Hey, she said, we didn't know. Julia knew. That's why we've got her here.
Well, we're letting her. We're selling out to her.
Yeah, we're going ahead. She's, she's just sitting over there. She blushes a lot, and then occasionally she'll come in with something.
We're doing the job for her right now. We're letting her have her moment.
This is it.
Thank
and
you.
This is Julia's moment.
I just want to say congratulations to Willie before I go off the phone.
All right, brother.
Thanks a lot, Chuck.
Thanks for calling in, man.
Let's go to line 4.
Yes.
Guy with a show this weekend from Outlaw Championship Wrestling, Wildman, Dave Diamond.
Well, gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, Dave, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, as always, you gentlemen are looking well.
Well, that's it, man. We always look
Beauty
good
of
on
radio.
Live radio really does things for us.
The thing is, Marty and I actually dress up. I'm
right?
wearing a suit and tie. Marty's got a very nice business casual type
outfit on. That's not normal for me, believe me. It's normally I got shorts on and deck shoes. But you guys got, 1-year anniversary show, Dave?
That is correct. Are you guys bringing the party favors?
Well, we've actually were talking
there was some
about
trouble
it.
last time Marty did that.
I didn't bring any party favors.
You did something. It was all your fault.
I might have brought a few, but nothing of that nature.
It should be a good show. We're really looking forward to it. I mean, I can't believe it's been a whole year already. It just seems like yesterday that we started. And it's just been a lot of fun all the way around. There's so many different people to thank and so many people that help make it possible. And one of the reasons we wanted to call is that in the month of December, we did confirm it today that we are going to officially be doing the second annual Dr. Creep Benefit Show. And so more information will definitely be coming that will help to benefit his Project Christmas Smile. So there'll be more information about that coming out here very shortly.
I know last year you guys... I can't remember. What did they get in free if they brought a toy? Was that how it worked last year?
I believe it was $10 for the general admission. It was $5 if you brought in a toy. By the end of the night, it was $550 and about three truckloads full of toys. So we were very, very happy with it.
And that was fantastic.
We're looking to get obviously much more this time around.
For those of you who don't know, now last year a lot of that was being stored, and there was a robbery, and I mean, some idiot or idiots broke in and took a lot of these toys that were meant for kids all over the Miami Valley.
Don't they work for Circuit City, didn't they?
Hey, Circuit City gave Willie the money back. We got to back off on them. They're okay now.
They're okay.
They're off the list.
This
See,
week.
that's what happens when Willie called Dyer, Garofalo, Man, and Joe. Hey, I do have a quick question here. I think you guys were talking about the Dudley boys possibly splitting up for a little while.
We mentioned that last week when Bubba was on the show.
Is there? Okay, I missed that segment. Was there anything? Is there anything else to add to that, or did you find out anything more? Or
well,
not really. I mean, we talked to Bubba this week, and we usually, you know how he is when he comes in, and we've been talking about him coming into town. All he really says is that most tag teams at one point or another do split up. Not for, may not be for a long run. The Dudley boys have been together. They're a great tag team, but he also feels that his talents and Devon's talents are such that they could go in a singles match and do a good job also.
Right.
And that may happen. I think the tag team, and Shawn and I both said this, and I know, Dave, you would probably agree, the tag team division in the WWF probably the strongest, and I think it's been in years.
No question about it. No
everything. You've got high flyers, you've got strength, you've got every, good mic skills, you've got the entire package. You got great teams that really help each other go over, and I think the feuds right now between them are at an all-time high.
I think the tag teams today are like more visible than they were in the 80s, even though you had the British Bulldog, excuse me, you had the British Bulldogs and you had Valentine and Beefcake and, the Machines or some of those other visible tag teams, but today it's like, it seems to me that WWF is putting more emphasis on their tag teams than they are the solo wrestlers.
Well, the tag teams right now in the WWF are such great workers. You look at Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and some of the matches they've had. Certainly the Dudley Boys can be thrown into that class. You don't want to forget Taz and Raven now a tag team, D'Lo Brown now with his tag team Lowdown. So the tag team division right now may be the best workers in the World Wrestling Federation when it comes to what happens between the ropes.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it.
Now, Dave, what are you going to be doing? Your manager's card burn up. Are you selling tickets
quite a lot
or
on our
popcorn
hotline.
or what?
Everybody does want to know what the Wild Man's doing, and I've made it very clear on our hotline that just safe to show up and find out for yourself. I mean, the possibilities are endless. As multi-talented as I am, it's a fiefdom of unlimited opportunities.
And you're a very humble man, too, so that's always
nice. Thank you very much.
You want to give us some of the matches, Dave?
Big Jim Hutchinson is going to be doing another appearance for Outlaw Championship Wrestling. Big Jim is set to go up against Khan in a rematch from the last show in Fairborn. Marty, I know you saw that match.
Hey, they had a great match, and I'll tell you what, that kid is, for a big guy, is very athletic.
The Giggler is going to take on our light heavyweight champion, the Waikiki Kid, in a non-title match. The American superstar Bobby Wright will be there. All of Team Hollywood, the Brawler, Stevie Hayes, Mad Mountain. Cameron Childs is going to be going one-on-one with Slash, another guy I know you guys know very well. Just top to bottom, 9 great matches. It should be a really good time, and like I said, we're really looking forward to it.
Hey, that's great, Dave. 1-year anniversary, OCW, Yellow Springs, this Saturday night. I know we're supposed to make a guest appearance up in Toledo at the WWF show, but Shawn, tell them what you said earlier.
I'm going to try and make it.
That's right.
I'm going to try to.
And I'm going to try to hold him to it.
Feel free to invite some of the guys from the WWF on down to Yellow Springs.
If not busy, they want to work the match, you might be able to squeeze them in, right? I'm sure they'll do that.
There you go.
Hey, Dave, we got to get to a break.
All right, you guys take care.
All right, thank you very much. David. Again, the OCW hotline, if you want to find out about that league, 229-8189.
Hey, let's get to a break. You're listening to the Tag Team Champions of Talk Radio, along with the 69th Wonder of the World, the Wrestling Guys, on WBKI Buckeye Country. We'll smooch outside of here with Stedham.
To quote Jim Rome, have a take, don't suck.
That's it.
There you go.
You got it.
Hey, we got a press release in this. Actually, today when we got here, we may try and have this guy on next week, but Julian Shabazz writes a book, The Inside Story of Black Professional Wrestlers, and nice retrospective about their history and everything else, and we're going to try and have him on the show next week to talk about that.
It should be a lot of fun. What you're going to see, we're going to do some more updates on the website. We've done quite a bit of work recently. Keep looking. The 69th Wonder of the World should be appearing soon on the Wrestling Guys website. But what you're going to see is an events column that also tells what guests we're going to have on the show. Once again, next week, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, maybe Julian Shabazz. The week after that, King Kong Bundy, and we're going to be setting up some things with WWF, and we're trying to get Kurt Angle, a few others to come on the show.
Mick Foley, as his book's coming out, he's committed to making an appearance here with us. We're trying. China has her book coming out. We're going to try and nail that one down too. So chasing a lot of big things coming up here in the next few weeks. And again, thewrestlingguys.com and the Wrestling Guys hotline at 285-0991. The best place to keep up to date on all that stuff.
Hey, that's it. Let's get to line 6 from Kettering. Courtney, you've got the Wrestling Guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
I
Court.
have a question.
Okay.
I was flipping through the channels last week, last Thursday before SmackDown, and saw WOW, Women of Wrestling.
yes.
I was wondering if you guys seen that and if you think it's gonna last or.
Well, we had David. Is it Mick Swain? David Swain. I can't remember.
Swain, I think.
Yeah. We had him on the show last year when this was first announced, and they're going to be running in Dayton Thursdays before SmackDown, the Miami Valley channel. Their website is WOWE.com, and they have a pay-per-view set for February. And despite what David said on our show, it's very Glow-esque. It's very much like Glow used to be. If you check out their website, I'm trying to remember some of the names of the girls they have in there, but it's very much in the tradition of Glow. We'll see how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, you never. It's a great time slot. I mean, it's in the right place at the right time, and he's really worked on it. We had heard about it. We had him on, I think, within a week of hearing the press release.
Day of the press release.
That happened, and we talked about maybe we'll get him back on again, but there's a space for it. I just don't think. I think they should have modified it a little bit to make it more what is hot right now in wrestling.
Well, Glow certainly, when it started up back in the mid-'80s, it came out of the rock and wrestling boom that wrestling went through. Now wrestling's into another boom, so he's going to capitalize on it again. Again, how long will this current love affair in the mainstream with wrestling last? We don't know. But as long as that will last, I'm sure, WOW will do just fine. And I guess they have 50-some markets they're already in, television-wise. They're in Cincinnati. They're in Columbus. The only live shows they'll be doing is out in L.A. at the Great Western Forum. Part of the reason I think, too, they're going to have the shows there, David has his offices in the Great Western Forum. I think he owns part of the building, too. And he runs... He had the... I think maybe it was the women's or the men's pro beach volleyball league. That was his thing he started.
Guy is definitely a promoter, and
very good.
He's not just some fly by the night type guy. I mean, he really has his things in order. He's done a good job, and anytime you can get yourself promoted over to 50 stations across the country, you're doing a great job. Look at what ECW
and he has Vern Gagne on the show. Vern Gagne and Lee Marshall do the play-by-play in color. The one thing I said about that, if you have a show of that nature, wouldn't it have been better to bring in a former
Medusa,
Wendy Richter, Leilani Kai, Misty Blue,
Les Thatcher?
I don't think. Well, maybe I don't know.
Well, no, I'm just thinking. If you're going to bring in Vern Gagne, you bring in Les Thatcher.
Well, no, I'm saying bring in a female wrestler, a former women's wrestler. You're going to get it from Les on that. You're already on his list.
That's it.
Anyway, anything? Are you going to try out, Courtney?
No.
You don't think? Why not?
I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. The girls took a good bump.
Well, you know what we need to do?
What?
We need to get Julia in that. Let's arrange a tryout with Julia to get her in WOW.
We could do that.
You want to do that?
I don't think I'd be very good at it.
We'll work. We'll get you trained.
Look at her blushing again.
I think she'd be good.
She blushes more than anybody
hot
I know.
in here. You guys are embarrassing me.
Being around us, baby, I get that way.
Courtney, anything else?
No, that's all. Can you guys blow me up?
Hey, hold on. It's Julia's job. Julia, take care of Courtney.
Julia takes care of all the blowing up around here, so she's going to go ahead and start the bomb. Extended delay there, yeah.
Delayed. That's a lot of ticking. We got to get right to the blowing up part.
You got to get right to that. You got to skip the ticking and get right to it. Yeah. Line 5, it's Jabberjaws. You're on the Wrestling Guys.
Jabberjaws.
What's it say?
Not Jabberjaws.
It says Jabberjaws.
It looks like Jabberjaws.
Jabberjaws, are you there?
Yeah, it's been a while since I haven't talked to you guys. I have a friend that its name is Kirby, and also he lives with his uncle, Kersey Clark, and he moved to a new business.
Oh, Cliff moved?
He's over Dorothy Lane now.
Wait, did Cliff leave Kroger?
Yes.
You're kidding me.
Hey, Lefty, got a little petite like the Wrestling Guys.
Cliff, the courtesy clerk from Kroger, is no longer Krogering.
No, he's at the Dorothy Lane out there at, on the bus 14.
That's bigger news than the ECW news.
Yeah, but also I want to say to how I feel about the WCW. If they're going to change all that, they should put it on all on one channel, just to have nothing but wrestling and make it easier. And also, what I'm trying to say is the WCW is starting to get a little on the lazy side compared to WWF, because my Kirby watches more WWF than he does WCW.
A lot of people watch more WWF than WCW right now. It's not just him.
Yeah, so I've been watching all three of them and keeping up with all three of them, and it still kind of it confuses me sometimes because how they act.
WCW, certainly with everything going on behind the scenes, their direction seemed to be a little bit lacking. Now, I will say this. Thunder tonight is supposed to be a very good show, and Nitro was very good on Monday, and I think part of the reason is they're working in front of 10,000, 15,000 enthusiastic fans, and I think that the reaction from the fans and the chanting and everything else is rubbing off on the wrestlers, and they're performing harder in the ring.
Right. It is pretty good because I like to do that. I like to see that a lot. It's like Ted DiBiase when he used to have his on TV, that
WXO.
Yeah. What he should have done is told someone else to keep it on TV, but didn't work, so he went on, and I wonder what he's up to with his business.
Well, Ted spent all his money in 2 weeks on that thing.
Yeah, and Ted was a legitimate millionaire.
Yeah, I'll tell you my opinion, though, how I feel. I think what he done is spend his money too quick and went on TV too fast instead of what he should have done is lay back like the old CW and lay back and go out there and explore out there as a franchise.
Well, I think,
and then instead of putting it on TV too fast, because what he's trying to do is get too much all at once.
Part of the problem I think that happened with WXO is they had a deal worked out. Was it Universal Studios or Walt Disney World, where they were going to go in and have their TV tapings there, and that would have given them some exposure, and that fell through at the last minute. And then I also think that they certainly suffered from a lack of star power.
That's
right.
The main guy was Barry Darso.
That we knew hardly at all.
Huh?
They didn't have hardly anybody we knew.
No, and he should have spent a little bit of money, and even if he had to bring in some older names like a Jimmy Snuka, King Kong Bundy, bring in 3 or 4 of those guys just to get people tuned in, and then build your younger guys through them. Yeah.
Yeah, I got one more thing to say, so I'll let you get on the other lines with the other guys.
All right.
What I'm trying to say is these younger guys, they're little, like let me see, like Chavo and them. On WCW, Eddie Guerrero and them, they should get the smaller guys with the smaller guys and get like how you call it, cruiserweight and all them, flyweight. They should get them with them, and the medium guys, the ones like Big Papa Puff and them, they should fight with them, and then with those group, and then bigger guys like let's say who is it? Big Diesel, they call him Sexy now.
Yeah, Kevin Nash.
Yeah, they should put him with the bigger guys, and then if they want to get together, that's fine. Put them like that. Make it more creative.
All right, buddy. Hey, we got to get to a break. Julia's giving us a sign, and thanks for calling in, Jabber Jaws, and tell Cliff, the courtesy clerk from Dorothy Lane, that we want to hear from him soon, but we got to get to a break.
You're listening to The Wrestling Guys on Buckeye Country 106.5.
I smelled it, and it wasn't good. It was. Welcome back to The Wrestling Guys. Once again, brought to you by Dyer Garofalo Manning Chelsea Accident Attorneys. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All you have to do is to put a tiger on your team is call 1-800-INJURED. Tell them The Wrestling Guys sent you, and you'll never know. They will be there.
And don't forget, Buckeye Country 106.5 has a huge contest.
Yeah, can I win?
No.
Jesus.
It's the Big Money Birthday Guarantee. You get a chance of winning $5,000. What you got to do, be the 25th caller. 4 times a day they give you this opportunity. You call 1-877-373-3666. That's 1-877-373-3666.
I can't win.
But you got to wait till they give you a prompt. 4 times a day, they'll do it.
Yeah.
Trust them, and you get a chance to win $5,000.
$5,000.
$5,000. Once again, $5,000 you can't.
Why is there always every time there's something I want to win, I can't play?
Because we are on Buckeye
my whole
Country,
life,
and
I was always the last
affiliated
kid
with them.
Last kid picked.
Marty, okay?
You having a hard time?
Julia, can you get him a tissue? All right, thanks. Let's get back to the phone lines. Line 7 in, is that West Carrollton?
West
Carrollton. Devlin, you're on The Wrestling Guys.
No, this is the Undertaker guy.
Julia!
Julia, he's from hell.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Undertaker guy, what's up?
Nothing much. Yeah, my question is about Kane when he took on Rikishi and Rock. I think that do you think that elevated his career some because he done such a good job against him?
I don't think that necessarily elevated his career. I think Kane has a pretty good career already.
Well, I think because, he fought Rock and Rikishi so good by himself.
Had he pinned Rock or Rikishi, I think that would have gave him a nice little bump, but...
Good match. I think a lot of people liked it. I mean, if you want to look at it, if it made him more credible, I don't know. But he's already, like Shawn said, if you look at the upper echelon of the WWF, his name is right there, the Big Red Machine.
Well, after he gets out of he was supposed to feud with Rikishi, but Austin and Rikishi going to feud. What direction he's going to go? Like in storyline, Kane and The Undertaker, what storylines are they going into?
Well, Undertaker's got to get healed first. He's got that injury again with his leg or groin, so that's bothering him once again. As far as what Kane's going to do, he took on, Kurt Angle at the SmackDown taping. So
Your God.
It's true. But we'll see if they're going to continue that feud or exactly what direction they're going to take him. Really, I don't know.
Yeah, another thing. When is A&E going to have those biography specials?
On who?
Well, wasn't they supposed to do 3 more wrestlers?
I didn't know. I didn't hear anything about that. Now I do know is A&E the show that Joan London has, her behind-the-scenes show that she does, and she went down to the power plant for a few days and worked out with those guys and behind-the-scenes look with that. I think that's going to be on. I think that's on A&E, but I'm not sure what day.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's it. Except one more thing. It's true. It's true. Kurt will kick Rock's Rudy Poo sticking right. It's true.
Thanks a lot, Undertaker guy. Big Kurt Angle fan.
Hey, my God, he's an Undertaker guy. First, he's the Undertaker fan. Then he's trying to join fan clubs. Then he's trying to promote unity between Spanish Fly and who else did he want?
Was it him? Would they want to join? I don't know. Speaking of the Fly, this is classic. They send us a new WAD tape today, and they've been promising this for some time. We get the tape in the mail. It hasn't been rewound.
No label on it.
No label. It hasn't been rewound. We have to do all the work ourselves.
Well, yeah, but, when you're drinking and doing WAD tapes, you can't think of all those technical things.
And by the way, what we mentioned earlier, Spanish Fly reportedly in Las Vegas this week. So
I find that hard to believe. Because,
I don't know if he'll ever come back.
Well, maybe, because if you gamble, the beer's free. So, he could be playing penny slots, just sucking up any type of swill they send him. See, I guess you never know. Hey, let's get to line 7.
Can we go to line 7 now?
Can we do line 7?
Please, Julia.
Can we talk to Devlin from West Carrollton, please?
You must have messed up.
Well, that's okay. Let's talk to Devlin. Devlin, what's happening?
Just listening to you guys once again.
Good. Like that.
I got a question. Where are they now? First, my question is, are we going to see the Dudleys and the Acolytes team up anymore, or is that just a one-time deal?
I think there's any one of a number of possibilities. I think it was pretty good, to end up a little something different. But they could team up with anybody. It could be with the Acolytes. You could see some teaming up with the Hardys. Just so many different combinations, so many possibilities, it's hard to say.
Right.
All right, and my Where Are They Now? This is no offense to Julia now, but my Where Are They Now? Where's the Jobber?
Jobber, from what we understand, is we mentioned. I think we've talked about this before. That he is a part-time firefighter, and he has decided to make that his career. So we, of course, wish him nothing but the best. So that's my understanding, at least, right, Julia? Yes.
Yeah.
Julia's nodding yes. So.
Well, she does a good job too, but
thank you.
She'll be better than Jobber later down the road, but she's new.
Yeah, you gotta break her in, man. So let's do it.
I think you've just hurt her feelings.
Wait a minute, Julia. Wait a minute,
Julia.
Uh-oh. She's got a short temper.
I'm going to cry.
Well, she cries, but yet such vengeance to actually blow the guy up.
Right away. Did you see her hammer that button with her fist?
Her eyes just caught on fire, fury, rage. And it was just...
No, she's too nice to do that.
Absolutely.
That was a slip-up, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think it was.
I don't think he actually meant to hurt Julia's feelings.
No, he didn't. It was a little bit of a slip-up. Those things happen.
Absolutely.
Hey, a lot going on. We've been talking about it with different people. Now, next week, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Right.
Maybe Shabazz.
Julie and Shabazz. Also, then the next week, King Kong Bundy. We're also Mick Foley, possibly China, a few others lined up in the next few weeks here on the Wrestling Guys. One thing, again, we want to mention is that starting next week, we will have tickets for the big show November 12th out at the Nutter Center. So make your plans to be listening next week. We will reveal what you will have to do to win some tickets.
That's it. I want to thank everybody that came out. We did a live remote last Saturday at the ballpark, right behind the Dayton Mall there, and Aaron Boone, one of the Cincinnati Reds third baseman, but a great wrestling fan himself. So Booney was there signing autographs, a ton of people there. If you haven't been to the ballpark yet, it's the place to go. If you have kids or yourself, you play baseball, softball, fast pitch softball, they have infields, they have batting cages, they have personalized instruction, they have it all. It's at the ballpark, about a block from Joker's, right there on Kings Ridge Drive. So it's a great place to be. Back to the phone lines again. Let's get to line 2 this time from West Carrollton. The Nightmare himself, Randy Kirby. You've got the wrestling guys.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good, Randy.
Quick question about what this new gimmick they're going to do with Sting is going to end up being. Because they keep promoting that on Nitro about how he's going to have some sort of rebirth or something.
The word I heard is that they've killed that idea.
There's a lot of speculation, but I mean, you can only put so many different colors paint on a guy. You can only dye his hair so many times. I mean, what are you going to do? The guy's already 30 pounds overweight. You're going to put a pillow in his belly?
It's not that.
I mean, well, easy.
Yeah, think of the money he was saving, though, only having to get 2 colors instead of all the other ones.
I mean,
over the years.
You know, I'm not trying to ignore you, but back to your statements.
Of course, Marty. Sure you are.
30 pounds?
No. Hey, anytime the guy comes out, he wears a different mask, he's doing house shows, and people are booing and throwing stuff because they don't think it's Sting.
Well, that was a weak idea. And we have been groomed as wrestling fans to, if somebody's under a mask, to think it's somebody else. Thinking back of all the different storylines that's happened to.
Why do you think it didn't look like? He had a bigger belly than you and I got. Come on, I mean, you can only wear one of those damn clinchers or whatever the hell they call them so much.
Thanks, Marty. I just have more stuff to put on that compilation tape, buddy.
Oh, hey, where's our tape at, Randy?
Promises.
Well, I've got it edited down to about an hour right now of content, so...
That should be pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, it's funnier than heck, I'll tell you that much.
Well, you know what you got to do is bring it to the show if Sticka makes it.
Now, do you want the censored or the uncensored version?
Oh, uncensored.
Oh, uncensored, definitely.
Definitely uncensored.
You wouldn't have a Sonny Ono on the uncensored, would you?
Actually, yes, I do.
What about New Jack?
New Jack and everyone.
By the way, did you catch
Bubba?
Did you catch New Jacqueline Monday night on Raw?
Oh, no.
Jacqueline coming out with the shopping cart with all the weapons.
That's disturbing as heck.
Talk about a playoff.
The thing that disturbed me the most was that I had heard someone say something like that Sting going through that new gimmick change or whatever with the trench coat, he was going to pull a Midian and just be a flasher.
I don't know. You know, Sting is a guy that is supposedly seen the light and become reborn. He was on the 700 Club a few weeks back, and the original idea we had heard was that Sting was going to become kind of a hybrid of his former characters. You would see the old Sting with the colors and the blonde hair mixed in with elements of the Crow image that he has now. And then apparently that idea may or may not be scratched. We don't know definitely for sure, as nothing right now in WCW is for sure. But we'll have to wait and see at Halloween Havoc on the 29th. Is that when that pay-per-view is coming up?
I think so. I wonder if he is as high and holy and mighty as the Buff Bagwell is now. We all know how that went.
Well, Buff, I don't think really, claimed to have been born again or anything like that. The one guy, and I don't know if their friendship is back, is Sting and Lex Luger. Because Sting apparently, said some things about Lex Luger, or told Lex Luger's wife some things, some on-the-road hijinks, and
basically threw the monkey wrench into the whole deal.
Yeah, and Sting and Lex Luger own some gyms together around the country, and I don't know if they own those together still, but I know their friendship certainly took a hit when that happened.
Got one more real quick question.
Yeah.
What is Jim the Anvil Neidhart up to these days? Is he still working with the developmental guys in the OVW, or?
Last I heard,
Memphis.
Memphis now?
He's down. He's in Memphis. He's been working there, but that's still a part of the developmental group in WWF. Been doing some training. Actually works some matches occasionally also.
And OVW is getting a nice little push in Memphis and all those guys because the WWF is sending in Big Show and Billy Gunn and Mark Henry. So when they have those shows down there, there's some good name power to draw some fans.
Yeah, if you need a diet and you're a wrestler, they send you to OVW.
Yeah, look at Blue Meanie.
Hey,
Meanie's on a diet already.
Hey, he got the diet. He got Jasmine. It worked for him.
Yeah, no doubt. Real quick shout out to all the guys in OCW. I look forward to working with everybody Saturday night.
All right, 1 year anniversary show. Randy, you're going to be refereeing, I'm sure.
Probably attacked, probably bloody and battered at the end, but, always having fun.
That's what it's all about. Hey, thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, take care, Nightmare. And he will be a part of the OCW show this Saturday out in Yellow Springs. Again, their phone number, 937-229-8189.
That's it. Hey, let's talk about, should we?
About what?
I don't know. We were talking a little bit earlier about DDP. A lot of rumors going around. We ended up plugging it, that DDP basically, for all intents and purposes, wanted out of his contract.
Right.
Wanted to go. He had been in touch with Steve Austin, and not because of just wanting to leave. Him and Steve have been friends. Triple H, I can tell you this, had been at the home of Kevin Nash and DDP's, basically from friendship. A lot of speculation going on. DDP went into the meeting and offered a tremendous buyout. I mean, he would have lost literally from
about $1 million.
About $1 million.
DDP offered him a one-day 55 cents on the dollar special, is what he called it, and they basically said, no.
And I don't blame him on some things. If you go back, and nobody thought it would hurt as bad as it did, but when the Radicals ended up leaving, it really was a sad day. A lot of things took a turn at that point. A lot of interchange, not only with just them leaving and them being granted their releases so quickly, but also with what happened with the management teams there. And the management team, I don't think still to this day has recovered because of them trying to make changes that shouldn't have been made and not giving people enough time to work. And I'm not saying that Kevin Sullivan was the guy to lead that team. He obviously wasn't, and for a lot of other reasons that we don't need to discuss here. Consequently, DDP leaving, you send him over there, and DDP, the personal publicist that he is, that could have been catastrophic, I think, at this point.
And plus, you get Kimberly along with it. The one thing I wonder about WCW is how much of a mistake is it to have Vince Russo employed and to also still have J.J. Dillon and Gary Jester employed, because Dillon and Jester are on Kevin Sullivan's regime. They were all part of that together, and when Russo was brought back to power, they kept those guys around.
Yeah, but if you look at what happens there, and we do know this, Terry Taylor is supposedly reporting to J.J. Dillon in the big scheme of things. Obviously, that doesn't happen. What is J.J. Dillon doing in the organization? This is a guy that had an office next to Vince McMahon for a number of years, obviously is knowledgeable. Use the guy in some capacity. You don't have to use everything that he says, but he's got a great wrestling mind, and he can do a lot of positives.
But there's too much bad blood there.
Oh,
J.J.
God.
Dillon was part of the team that are part of the encouragement that helped get Vince Russo out the first time, and they're never going to have that trust. They're not even able to work together, and I wonder how much that has to do with the problems WCW has. Most of the problem, WCW certainly has talent in the ring. It's in the management side. They need a lot of work.
And Gary Jester, basically another one. All he's in charge of is venues now. He has really no stroke at all in the company. And I guess that's our cue that it's time for a break.
You are listening to The Wrestling Guys on Buckeye Country 106.5.
You're listening to The Wrestling Guys on WBKI Buckeye Country, brought to you by...
You're the guy that called my house the other night. 2
Yeah.
a.m. I heard that voice. I didn't know who it was. My caller ID wasn't working. It was you.
Yeah, your wife normally likes me to call that time of night. Yeah,
thank you.
Your point.
So you're the reason I owe you $50 every night. Okay, never mind. Anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
You gotta love it, don't you?
You are listening to The Wrestling Guys, brought to you by Dyer Garofalo, Mann, and Schultz. Put a tiger on your side 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A free initial consultation.
Yeah!
You need to say, you know what, do I have a case?
It's true!
Give him a call.
Yeah, it's true. Dyer Garofalo, Mann, and Schultz.
Give you a... Are you okay now? Sure.
I kind of like that.
Give you a quick recap of the news in case you are just joining us or didn't join us at the beginning. Mandalay Sports Today sending out a press release saying that they have never, not presently, and never have been in discussions about buying WCW. This doesn't rule out the fact that they could be the managing partner for somebody else.
They're not involved.
I.e. Eric Bischoff to go in and buy WCW. So we'll keep you up to speed on that on the hotline. Also, earlier today, it was announced that ECW will no longer be on TNN. This past Friday's edition, the final episode, as ECW and TNN not able to work out their differences. TNN apparently wanting ECW to agree not to pursue litigation because ECW feels it was screwed. That's a quote from Paul Heyman after by not being promoted. Paul Heyman claims that the promotion the World Wrestling Federation got in 1 week was more promotion than ECW got in an entire year of being on TNN. So they're going to pursue that. You okay over there? You like that soda? What is that, Sierra Mist? Is that what it's called?
Is that it?
Yeah, it's like Pepsi's new 7-Up lemon lime type soda.
Yeah, that ought to last for about 6 months.
You think so?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Hey, look, Sprite and 7-Up, man. What else do you need?
Dr. Pepper.
You know,
You're talking about the lemon lime
she's a
soda.
pepper.
There you go.
Did he want to be a pepper, too?
Thunder tonight, not live, but tape from Australia. Let's see, we got Sanders against Sting. You've got Bill Goldberg against Chuck Palumbo. Jim Duggan and Kidman's going to get into it a little bit. Goldberg is in there. Jeff Jarrett, Kevin Ashcat. They're all there.
They're all there.
They're all there.
It's supposed to be a pretty good show tonight.
Should be relatively good. Vince McMahon announcing earlier today that the rumors that he is interested in buying the Boston Red Sox are false. He has no interest in buying the team that will go up for sale. Are they up for sale already? Or are they going up for sale?
No, I'm not sure. I know there was some speculation there, but Vince has got his hands full. He's in a cat fight right now. His stock went down after that announcement. He's got XPW coming up. Or XPW? Well, XFL. I hope he doesn't have XPW.
And tonight, China will be a guest on the Jay Leno Show.
Yeah, baby.
Ivory will be on the X Show. That's on the FX network. That's at 11 o'clock, so you can catch that before China at 11:30 on the Tonight Show. And the PTC is sending out media alerts that USA Network could be joining ECW or putting ECW on. So the PTC is at their
Who loves again. The PTC? Nobody.
Joe Lieberman.
Joe Lieberman. Guy. That's why.
And the debates are on after we get off the air.
And I just can't wait to get home not to tune those in.
Well, the baseball game's on tonight, isn't it? You got which one's on tonight? You got the Mets and Cardinals, I think. So.
Yeah, so there is something else to do.
Thunder. You can watch the Thunder.
Yeah, maybe Thunder will get some good ratings. Going against the debates, the ratings should improve.
You would think. And we want to thank the guys from WAD once again sending us volume. Is this volume 3 we have now?
I believe
the WAD
so.
tapes. It's been nice if they rewound it.
Or labeled it.
Yes, and next week we are giving away WWF tickets for the Nutter Center and King Kong Bundy, former WWF legend. He is
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Oh, Bundy's in 2 weeks.
Bundy's in 2 weeks.
Well, another WWF, WCW, NWA legend, Ricky Steamboat. He joins us next week.
Go to our website. We're going to start posting who our interviews are going to be. Also read the up-to-date articles by B.J. Bethel. BJ, one of the hottest internet reporters in the country, reports for every major website, the main one being TWNPnews.com, but insightful news, up-to-date news from BJ Bethel right on thewrestlingguys.com. We got a lot coming, and we're going to do something.
I promise Marty and I will update our columns.
By Friday.
By Friday. We will get the new columns
I'm worse than you, but we are going to get the new columns up. Hey, let's get back to the phone lines, and then from West Carrollton, Pandora, you've got the Wrestling Guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
What's happening?
Not much. I want to know, when exactly do you think we'll see Stephanie and Kurt Angle together?
I think they will have that happen at a pay-per-view. No Mercy's the next one up. Then after that, you have the Survivor Series. My guess is that if this all plays out like we think it will, with Triple H and China getting back together, they'll wait for a major pay-per-view to have that happen. And I think Survivor Series would be the most logical place.
Okay. And can I say hi to somebody?
Sure.
I want to say hi to the Nightmare Randy Kirby, since we haven't heard from him in a while.
He was on earlier. Did you hear him?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And tell Julie that Devlin said sorry.
Oh, this is the start of something special.
Okay, thank you. You really hurt my feelings.
Well, he's my brother, and you just don't even listen to him.
You don't, right?
We'll remember that, Pandora.
Okay.
All right, and thanks for calling in.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Julie, don't you feel a little better now that he apologized? And
Yeah, I feel a little better. I just am still hurt that he said it.
Well,
I know it. I'm crushed,
You're
too.
doing fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm really hurt. But once again, if you want to know all the news that is news in the Miami Valley, call the Wrestling Guys hotline, 285-0991. Pulsation, still the place to go for your pay-per-views. You can get there and call there for 291-9212. Normandy Square Shopping Center. You give me the look, but it's still a great place to go for pay-per-views. And as always, this weekend, as always, the Miami Valley, a hotbed for independent wrestling. OCW this weekend in Yellow Springs, their one-year anniversary show, and the big Legends Night at the Grand Victoria Casino. One thing we didn't mention earlier, Grand Victoria Casino allowing children in for this show. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to bring your kids. Every seat, a great seat, a chance to meet King Kong Bundy and get your pictures taken with him. A chance to Crunchy Munchy, a chance to meet Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and a chance to meet Mr. USA himself, Tony Atlas.
Let's go to line 6, and from West Milton, Crunchy Munchie.
Yeah, guys, hey, how you doing? It's pretty sweet, yeah.
What's happening, Munchie?
Nothing pretty much. I just want to know, where's Reno at?
Where's who?
Reno.
Reno? He's, I don't know if he's on the Australian tour or not.
What's your guys' favorite finishing maneuver?
Our favorite finishing maneuver. I have no idea where the...
well, you put me in a headlock once, and you thought there was a... Wait a minute.
Julia's...
It's Crunchy Munchie. Hey. Oh, my God. You're getting carried away with that thing.
It was a bad Cartman impersonation, I will say that much.
You called all the way from West Milton.
You get a lot of calls from West Milton.
Oh, I know.
You get calls from everywhere.
But it was Crunchy Munchie.
I never heard of Crunchy Munchie before.
Well, I know it, but it sounds like a candy bar or some type of toffee-flavored popcorn.
And besides, the whole favorite finishing maneuver, that's personal.
Oh, my God. I don't believe that you said that, Stenham. I can't believe it.
Okay. Anyway.
Hey, those things happen. But, you know, our callers call in. They wait online. Some of them call for weeks on end to have an opportunity to call in. Here, this might have been Crunchy Munchie. This was their first time. And you blow them up.
Like you've never made the signal to blow somebody up before.
One time.
More than that.
No, never. The one time the Bink was smooching, I had enough of it, and that was the only... You've blown the Bink up 55 times. The Jobber and Bink had 11.
Jobber and Bink had their feud for a while. We can control it. Julia's done it too.
Yeah, so I mean, I never do it. I'm always on the side of the caller. I am the defender of the callers of the wrestling guys.
Yes, you are.
I'm the one that makes sure that they have the opportunity to speak their mind.
By the way, a little news tidbit. The World Wrestling Federation announcing this week they are going to start their own record label. SmackDown Records is the name.
I think it'll be popular.
They're going to concentrate on the rock and hip-hop markets, and I assume, although they didn't say anything official, I assume that from here on out, CDs like the Music Volume 5 and things of that nature will be on SmackDown Records. Is Road Dogg ever going to get that CD out? Is he going back and trying to do that again?
We've talked about it a number of times. Road Dogg, for those you didn't know, went back home again. His wife having some complications, had pneumonia, collapsed lung, a lot of problems. And it just seems like with that guy, it's a number of things, either himself physically or family members, and really hasn't had a chance to do it. I think one of these days, if things settle down for him, you'll see it happen. And from what I hear, he's pretty good.
Yeah, so we have another call?
Yeah, we do. Line 8, Airwolf. You've got the wrestling guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
I want to know what Rikishi's problem is with Stone Cold.
Well, Rikishi apparently doesn't have the problem with Stone Cold personally, but it's the fact that the World Wrestling Federation, in Rikishi's opinion, has pushed the white wrestlers and had kept the Samoan guys back. Rikishi doesn't think that guys like Afasika, the Head Shrinkers, whatever, got their respect, even though, I mean, if you want to, play this internet mark or internet smart on this, Yokozuna's a Samoan. He got his WWF title pushes. Certainly the Wild Samoans, multiple-time tag team champions. A number of the wrestlers have had pushes, but that's the way they're going with the storyline. They're playing the race card. I don't know how comfortable I am with it, but we'll see how it happens.
Hey, have you ever noticed how all the Samoans have big butts?
Marty?
No, I just thought about that. I mean, Yokozuna's got a huge butt on him. Now, you go to Rikishi. Rikishi's
You're
got a
talking
big
about
butt.
somebody with a big butt.
Well, wait a minute, man. I could give you a stink face and you'd enjoy it.
No, I wouldn't. No, trust me.
But come on.
No,
I mean, let's face it. Rikishi he's got the big butt.
Julia, can you hit the music? Can we get out of here? Because
wait a minute.
We're going to have Dyer, Garofalo, Man, and Schultz called on us if we don't get out of this real quick.
Any callers that want to disagree with me that Rikishi and Yokozuna have big butts, give me a break.
Rikishi and Yokozuna do have big butts.
But you don't have to say it.
You don't have to, say all the Samoans.
Let me tell you what. Why do you think his move is a stink face, Julia?
Well, I
would agree Rikishi does, but you're lumping them all into a category. If he had big arms, he
would be hitting him, or he would put him in a headlock or a bear hug. His move
Julia,
is a stink
save this
face. Show. Do you understand it? Airwolf.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong, brother?
You're right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't say you're not right. I'm just saying you can't jump them all in like that.
No, I didn't. We talked about Yokozuna. Airwolf started. Airwolf, you started it.
It's all Airwolf's fault.
Yeah, you started this.
Sue him.
Yeah, if somebody's got any problems, call Airwolf.
You're listening to the Wrestling Guys, Buckeye Country 106.5. Thanks, Dayton.
Good night, Dayton. Guys. Hello, Dayton, and we're back again for 2 hours of wrestling mayhem, knowledge, call-ins, people. Shawn Stedham, the 69th wonder of the world, is in the house tonight.
I'm not the 69th wonder of the world.
Well, you could be, but for another reason. Hey, we all have our niche in the world, Stedham, and you have yours, as slight as it may be.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Hey, there's a lot going on. Not really big news, but I guess the biggest news is, potentially
this afternoon has really shaped up. You and I talked, late last night, and we kind of said, at least we're going to have a couple guests on the show. We'll fill some time, and then all of a sudden today it's like, bang, 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 here's this, here's this, here's this. Maybe the most historic date in the history of wrestling.
Maybe.
Possibly, as a number of sources are saying that Vince McMahon and Time Warner last night worked out an arrangement to where he will buy World Championship Wrestling. Brad Siegel is scheduled to be in the office tomorrow, first time in 2 weeks, and he is expected to have a meeting with the troops to discuss what is going on.
One thing we can give you, and this comes directly from the locker room of the World Wrestling Federation last night at their tapings, is that the buzz in the locker room was about the sale. Everybody talking about it, wrestlers, bookers, workers, everybody in the organization talking about the sale. Now, does that mean we're 100% that it's going to be done? No, but does it also mean that everybody is a buzz about it? And if they're talking about it that much in the locker room, you can bet something's going on.
I understand there was a meeting in Mandalay Sports today with Eric Bischoff's group, basically trying to come up with another game plan now that they are now out of the running for World Championship Wrestling. The others, I guess the guy who really broke this today was Bubba the Love Sponge down in Tampa, who numerous times has Hulk Hogan on his show, is a good friend of Hulk Hogan's, has a number of wrestlers on. He's the one that broke this today. A number of other guys have come up today and backed that story up. Now, apparently, there's some I's that need to be dotted, T's that need to be crossed, but apparently WCW would remain a separate promotion. There's possibility of a few cross, WWF versus WCW
Super Bowl of wrestling.
There you go. But TBS, TNT will remain to have Nitro and Thunder. So,
you know what? You look at this entire package, it's a monumental move in the history and historical prevalence of wrestling. What does it do with ECW?
That's a good question. A lot of people have wondered, number one, will this move even be allowed to happen? Because let's face it, you really have three wrestling companies. Your biggest one's obviously the World Wrestling Federation and WCW, and if Vince McMahon owns both, would that be a monopoly? We've seen what's happened with the U.S. government against Microsoft. And I guess, according to some lawyers and some legal experts, there's something called a failing firm clause or something where if a company is not doing well, i.e. WCW, and a more powerful, more organized company comes in to buy that, then that company is exempt from being accused of I don't know. I'm not a legal expert,
them off
but
from being a vulture, and it stops a monopoly from having. But in this case, I mean, look at the jurisdictional type things that could come out of this. Was part of the lawsuit that we've heard about, and we've really never said that it did happen. I don't think anybody knows 100%. Was part of the lawsuit? Was it settled because they were?
Everybody I've talked to in the last few days have said this is why it's happening.
All right.
That nobody can. Vince McMahon is not going to allow anybody else to buy WCW.
And it doesn't mean that somebody else, Mandalay Sports, Eric Bischoff, Paul Heyman, which I don't think would happen, but I'm going to throw his name out there, would not have an injunction against allowing for the sale or trying to stop this sale.
Oh, that could still happen. Again, this is not officially a done deal yet, but it looks like it's very close. The one thing the big question is, what does this do to the landscape of wrestling in general? Now, wrestlers do not have the same leverage they had before when negotiating contracts, when, threatening to go from one ship to the other.
Oh, it changes the whole complexion of everything that we've seen go down over the last, I'll say 8 to 10 years.
Is that good or bad?
At this
I don't
point,
know.
From a wrestler's vantage point, while it may appear bad because it takes away a lot of leverage they use during contract negotiations for the livelihood of the sport itself, this wrestling has always been on a roller coaster, and I'm sure you'd agree, Shawn.
Sure.
It plateaus, it takes a dive, it plateaus. I think this may put it on more of an even keel to make the entertainment aspect of wrestling, I guess, overall more stable.
Let me throw something out here from left field. If all of these wrestlers now, we're talking Goldberg and Sting and Austin and Rock, all of these guys now are under the same umbrella of World Wrestling Federation Entertainment. Is it now possible that a union would be more likely to be formed if everybody's working for the same company?
Not a doubt in my mind, and I think that they may look at the union as being something they need because you've taken away a lot of the leverage, just as you just said, a lot of the opportunities that they had. Where do you go? You're not going to make that jump to ECW from that company unless there's a problem.
Well, the one thing you wonder is if WWF, and again, this is all purely speculative on our part right now, are they going to lower the contract, undercut some people? Probably.
Damn right.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a guy like an Al Snow, like a D'Lo Brown, like a Mike Sanders, some of those mid-card talents, there may never be a push if these companies are operated as one.
No, but it could. We can sit here and debate this all night, and we'll ask you, the callers, to give us some of your perspective. But it could open up some opportunities too. It open up, and we use Al Snow. Al's one of our guys. He's from the Lima area, right here out of the Miami Valley. But one of the things we always talk about, maybe Al ends up being moved over to WCW.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe over there he is a better fit because of whatever the nature of the program is that they have at the time. And he ends up getting a push and becomes a lot more popular.
We've all said that WCW needs to make changes. We want to see a better product. Is this what we want to have happen? Everybody, for the most part, enjoys the World Wrestling Federation. They think it's a good product. Now that they own WCW, if the WCW becomes just like the WWF, is that good?
It's not good. I'll go out on a limb and say I really hope it doesn't become like that. I would like to see them do some innovative things. If they take it over, make it a separate entity. It can be a subsidiary of WCW in some respects. I hope it doesn't become a clone.
Well, we'll see. And again, for the most up-to-date information, call the Wrestling Guys hotline, 285-0991.
Yeah, thanks.
Did I kind of work that plug in there?
Yeah, that was a nice plug.
Thank you very
You're doing
much.
real well.
A guy that may be on the shelf after all this comes out is Vince Russo, and actually he's going to be on the shelf right now regardless of what happens, because Vince apparently has post-concussion syndrome, and he has been ordered by his doctor to rest until November 16th, which he may be out of a job by that time anyway. But apparently all the bumps that he took in the ring has made its toll on him, so he is not going to be there.
Hey, whatever the reason for getting him out of the ring, I'm all for it. But not that I want to see him get hurt, but he can do his job at home, his storylines.
By the way, Dave Shear, he did from Australia.
Yes.
Dave Shear, OneWrestling.com, reporting about Brad Siegel. According to one source, said, quote, he better have security with him. He's the worst boss I've ever met. Because Brad Siegel basically has not told the employees of WCW anything. And they're all hearing the news, too, that, WWF may be buying them, Mandalay may be buying them, they may be out of a job. And so they just want an answer of, hey, what's going on? And Siegel has avoided them like the plague.
Yeah, why would you want to know what's going on with your livelihood and your job? I can't understand that.
By the way, what do you think about guys, and let's jump back to WWF buying WCW. Vince Russo, gone. Ed Ferrara, I assume, would be gone.
Should be.
You got to think about guys like Jeff Jarrett. I don't know. There's some bad blood there.
There's some bad blood there. I think there's a lot worse than Jeff
Tony
Jarrett.
Schiavone.
Yeah, but I think for some people, anytime you have this, I don't care what business it is, when you have people come together, one corporation potentially taking over another, some people fall by the wayside, some explore other avenues and other opportunities, and we're going to have the same thing here if it happens.
One guy that may be having to explore other opportunities already is Bret the Hitman Hart. Sources say today that Bret Hart has been released by WCW, the company using the 90-day clause. Bret Hart has not wrestled for 90 days. That's a clause in everybody's contract. So they have decided to release him. Now, you might remember Bret Hart fell out of favor with World Championship Wrestling after a scathing article that he wrote in his Calgary Sun column.
Among others.
Among others, yes.
I hope that doesn't happen, but I think at this point, when you have a sale going on, it goes back to business and business principles. You have to do what you have to do in regards to cutting costs. There's a lot of overhead there. You've talked about it on the hotline. Scott Hall, gone.
We'll talk about that a little bit later, too.
Bret Hart. I think there's a lot more that are going to be falling by the wayside, and a lot of other players.
Well, the other thing, too, is that Time Warner AOL merger is coming down the line. Time Warner basically wants to dump off WCW, and Vince McMahon's in the perfect pennies on the dollar. It's basically what he's going to pay.
You got it.
Negotiations with Rulon Gardner, the Olympic gold medalist, has fell through.
Oh, come on.
You know how much money Rulon wanted?
Yeah, I know.
Rulon wanted $3 million a year.
Damn right. Go for the gusto. If you're going to go for it, you might as well go for all of it.
No, wait. Marty.
What?
The guy is an Olympic gold medalist and an amateur wrestler. Great. He did a great job there.
Yes, he did. Gold medal.
How is he going to parlay that into something that could be as lucrative as a contract from the World Wrestling Federation?
Well, let me tell you what, if he'd have popped him for $2 million, that's a hell of a parlay.
Well, yeah, but if I mean, the World Wrestling Federation pays a lot of money. They would certainly give him a lot more money than he'll make as an amateur wrestler.
Well, true, but I think at this point, maybe he should have evaluated it, but you can always go down when you're negotiating.
That's
you
true.
Don't go up.
Now, he wanted $2 million and a $1 million signing bonus. Basically, that's the same as Steve Austin and The Rock.
Yeah, he thinks he's a pitcher for the Mets.
You're bad.
No,
also, the World Wrestling Federation, though, is talking to Kerry McCoy. McCoy placed 5th in the freestyle American super heavyweight in the Olympics.
5th place, though.
Yeah, but he's a super heavyweight.
Yeah.
So,
all right, so he can go down to Chunky Farm down in Louisville.
You want to hear about Chunky Farm?
Yeah,
Let's give you a Chunky Farm update. Apparently, Mark Henry and the Big Show are being weighed in every Friday to find out how they're doing. Now, Mark Henry...
He's chunky but one.
Mark Henry is down to 360. He's lost 55 pounds. The World Wrestling Federation said they really want him at around 325, but if he gets down to 330, 340, that's okay.
Yeah, because he's working at it. They want to, and they want to reward a guy that works.
Now, the Big Show...
No, Chunky Butt 2.
Chunky Butt 2, they told him that he will not even be considered until he gets down to around 400 pounds.
Okay, but let's face it now.
He's at 470.
But the Big Show did lose weight.
He shaved his head.
That's right.
Yes, he did.
He'll do anything.
Yes, he will.
When you go through as many liposuctions as he has, there's nothing to take out of there. He's got to do it the real way now.
ECW is searching for a television deal. There are reports that USA Network is once again negotiating with them on a late-night television package.
I heard WB64 is looking at him, too.
Well, there's also talk that ESPN2, which originally gave Paul Heyman an offer, but Heyman was holding out for a USA deal, ESPN2 may once again be in the running for ECW.
You think?
Maybe. The Los Angeles Times is reporting that Randy Savage is suing an adult entertainment firm out of Seattle. Why? Because they used the trademark name Gorgeous George to advertise a porn video she used before she was known as Gorgeous George. Savage actually owns the trademark. He's told the company, you can't use the name unless you pay me. She's my ex-girlfriend,
Yeah, right.
So Savage is going to make money off his ex-girlfriend being in a porn.
Hey, man, if he was smart enough to trademark it, then, got to give the guy credit. They're trying to use his thoughts, his ideas, his brainstorming. Look at all the work he went into with her. All the effort he put in.
Actually, I'm not even going to say that.
Okay.
Did a lot of effort herself. But anyway, ratings are in Raw a 4.8, Nitro a 2.3.
And how long has it been since Raw was under a 5.0?
Long time.
Long time.
I don't know. The Monday Night Football game ratings were not that good. A lot of people may be contributing to it. The baseball playoffs, that may have had something to do with it, but certainly the lowest number that Raw's had in a long, long time.
First time in 10 months.
You are on the ball.
Hey, man, that's why I'm a part of the wrestling guys.
Absolutely. And that is the news. A little bit later, we are going to talk about Scott Hall, his situation in depth. If you have not heard by now, we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Yes, there are a lot of other things going on. Julian Shabazz.
Julian Shabazz, author of The Black Stars of Professional Wrestling. It's a book and it chronicles the history of guys like the Junkyard Dog and The Rock, and you go back to Thunderbolt Patterson and Rocky Johnson, and that's a guy we'll talk about later, too.
Oh, my God.
Not in a good sense, but he'll be on about 7:30 or so, and then we're still chasing down Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah, Ricky's racing. That Steamboat racing, they're racing all over the place.
Well, we got to catch him.
Yeah, and we're trying to catch him because we want to get him before he gets in here on the 27th for that big show with the Heartland Wrestling Association at that Grand Victoria Casino.
Absolutely. A lot of other things to talk about tonight. Not only the World Wrestling Federation, WCW, UCW's back. We'll cover that as well. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Hoovy and Scott Hall that situation's ugly.
It's ugly. You're listening to the Tag Team Champions of Talk Radio along with the 69th Wonder of the World.
Say hi. You haven't even said anything all night.
Hi.
Thank you.
The Wrestling Guys. We'll be right back, Dayton.
No.
Welcome back to the Wrestling
Guys. You gotta wait till the
Guys.
mic's on, Marty.
Hey, man, I can't. My eyes are in the back of my head, but occasionally they blink. We are brought to you by Dyer, Garofalo, Mann, and Schultz, and I should have waited for the 69th Wonder of the World to give me the old nod. Yeah, I see that on there.
That's what I'm supposed to do.
Well, you're supposed to rattle. Is that it?
Supposed to
give it to me?
that.
Just like that. Just like that. Like shooting a gun.
Come on over here and
That's like
spank,
shooting a gun.
spank me, baby.
Okay.
Marty.
What?
She has a boyfriend.
Well, so she's got a boyfriend.
You have a wife.
Spank?
Okay. Never mind.
Just said spank.
That's okay.
Nothing wrong with it.
We'll have to watch you after last week.
Dyer, Garofalo, Mann, and Schultz. If she spanks me, I'm calling Doug Mann, 1-800-INJURED.
You never called a lawyer before.
Yeah, but I got a feeling if the 69th one of the world gives it to me, I'm going to need one, brother.
And again, Dyer, Garofalo, Mann, and Schultz, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 1-800-INJURED. Offices all over the place, Marty Adams.
Yes, they are. They're in Lima. They're in Piqua. They're at new offices here in Dayton.
Downtown Dayton.
Middletown.
Have they moved into the new one, Joe?
You're the one that said they were there.
No, they're moving over. I don't know if they've actually moved yet.
There's a lot of moving. When you walk into those law offices, buddy, they're huge, man. And this isn't Judge Judy, brother. This is some huge conglomerate. They do a great job, and they're there for you. And they're really people. So if you need somebody to back you up, you need a tiger on your team, so to speak, 1-800-INJURED, Dyer, Garofalo, Mann, and Schultz. And what else is going on? Scott Hall, come on.
Well, last week, let's first of all give the background to this. Last Thursday or Friday, Juventud Guerrera was released by WCW because of his actions down in Australia. And I said on the hotline, if Juventud Guerrera does not get doped up on ecstasy, strung out, naked in the lobby, saying he's Jesus at the Marriott, then Scott Hall would still be employed by World Championship Wrestling. Juvi was fired, and Juventud was looking at filing a racial discrimination lawsuit. Not that I think that the move by WCW was racially motivated. I think that they're trying to clean up their act. It just so happened Juventud Guerrera was the first one to be under the zero tolerance policy.
Think he called Sonny Ono as soon as he got
probably
back?
called Sonny Ono. Sonny Ono probably called him as soon as it happened.
He probably did.
So anyway, one of Juvi's complaints, or main beefs, was that, hey, look at everything Scott Hall has done, and I got fired. So what happened yesterday? Scott Hall fired by World Championship Wrestling.
Put a contract out on Juvi, won't he?
He may do that.
Yeah, it's a shame. The king of the ladder matches. I mean, Scott Hall.
Well, Scott Hall has not wrestled because of an injury he suffered at, Super Brawl, the last pay-per-view he was at with Sid and all that.
Exactly.
He suffered an injury there, and so that's why he hasn't wrestled. Kevin Nash said on our program a month or so ago that Scott Hall just got clearance and he's fine, but Brad Siegel still holds a grudge against Scott Hall for a number of reasons. He did not want to use him, and so yesterday, the hammer came down. Scott Hall released by World Championship Wrestling for what they say was breach of contract. Now, I don't know what this will do to Juventud's case, but certainly WCW had to get rid of some bad apples. You can make the case that Juventud Guerrera made his own bed, but when WCW was still tucking in Scott Hall and Buff Bagwell after the stuff they had done, you can see where Juventud Guerrera would have had a case and may still have a case if he pursues it.
I'm sure he will. If he's even here, he may be back in Mexico, or who the heck knows where he's going to be. But you have to look at that and think, okay, because I'm not one of the top 4 or 5 people in the company. When I trip and stub my toe, I'm out. If I was Kevin Nash, I'll use, or Bill Goldberg, I could get away with those things.
Well, yeah, and the other thing, too, is we know what kind of society we live in. I mean, you and I have been threatened with lawsuits for things we say or don't say or whatever. People love to sue people nowadays, and certainly Juventud Guerrera, fired by WCW, you got to think, if he goes into the courtroom and Scott Hall is still employed by WCW after he fondled a 50-year-old woman in a car and everything else he's done,
he should get applauded. That woman probably had the time of her life. All right, go ahead.
But in all seriousness, though, Juvi probably would have had a case, probably would have won the case. He may still do so. It'll be interesting to see now what happens with Buff Bagwell and some of the others that have had trouble recently in World Championship Wrestling.
Either one of two things are going to happen. Either they're going to see the handwriting on the wall, and this could all change in a matter of minutes, days, if this whole sale thing comes up, because there's going to be a whole new set of guidelines. There's going to be a new sheriff in town. I don't care if it's Mandalay, Eric Bischoff, Vince McMahon, or whoever.
Well, it looks like it's going to be Vince, and So maybe Scott Hall will be back in WCW real soon.
Maybe some of those guys will play for, the new football league.
The XFL?
Yeah.
Did you hear about Buckus today?
No.
Buckus is now not going to be the coach of the Chicago team. He has been promoted to the XFL's Director of Football Competition.
Oh,
whatever that is.
Have you seen the commercials where the football players run in? There's tanks behind him shooting.
Yes,
It's
very
crazy.
slick. Very slick.
Hey, well, let's get to the phones. These have been lit up since we started out here. And on line 1 from Dayton, John, you've got the wrestling guys.
How you guys doing tonight?
Good, John.
Hey, John.
I was just wondering, have you heard anything lately about the card that's coming up for the Nutter Center?
Talked to WWF again today because we're going to be doing a ticket giveaway here very soon. The card should be finalized within the next 5 days. Now, we are being told that The Rock is coming to Dayton. The Rock is finally back in Dayton.
Yeah. All right.
But,
Julia likes that.
Man. But we don't have the wrestling card. We do know the Dudley Boys are going to be in. I think it's going to be a pretty stacked house show because they've got a nice run that weekend. They're going to be hitting Cincinnati, which is usually a huge market for them. Nutter Center, which has been very, very positive facility, always draws in great crowds. Pre-sale on tickets has been very good. And then they do the Columbus, Indianapolis run right after that for Raw and SmackDown. So I think we're going to see a hell of a show here in Dayton.
Watch, I can make Julia applaud again. Julia, the Hardy Boys will be there, too. So there you go. That's all you have to do to make them happy.
You know what? It's amazing how she does that, and it sounds like so many people are applauding.
Absolutely. It's odd. And the one thing also, don't forget, is that Sunday when November the 12th, we will be at the Nutter Center broadcasting live before the show also.
All right.
Oh, my God, you're getting carried away.
Cut it out, Julia.
What else you got going, John?
Also, how long has Earl Hebner been in the WWF?
Oh, my God, years and years. Him and his brother have been there forever.
Yeah, I mean, the first time he really did anything with any prominence was when they did the angle with the twin referee, the evil referee, and that was 87, I think, or 88, so at least 13, 14 years. I'm sure it goes on longer than that.
No. Can I give a shout-out over the radio?
Sure.
Go for it.
Shout-out to Dale.
Okay.
All right, brother. Thanks for calling in, John.
Thank you.
By the way, speaking of that weekend with the World Wrestling Federation in town, we are going to do the mall walk with the Dudleys. People have been asking on the hotline. That is all set up. We will give you more information as we get closer. Also, THQ is going to be sending us copies of their upcoming WWF games. No Mercy for the Nintendo 64, SmackDown 2 for the PlayStation, and we're going to be giving us some of those away during that weekend as well.
And we will have tickets we're going to be giving away. We're going to do something a little different on the website for a few.
Yep.
And we're going to be doing it here as we get closer to November 12th.
It's going to be a very exciting time. 3 days. They're in the Miami Valley. And again, that Sunday, Marty and I, from 5 to 7 before the show, will be in front of the Nutter Center broadcasting live. We'll have a bunch of stuff to give away then. So make sure you come out a little bit early that Sunday to hang out with us for a little bit.
Yeah, you got it. Hey, back to the phone lines again. Line 2 from Dayton, Ohio, the independent icon. You've got the wrestling guys.
Wrestling guys, what's up?
How are you?
What's up, bro?
Doing fine. How you guys been?
Good.
Doing good.
Are you enjoying the new digs?
Well, you know, they're not really new anymore, but yeah, I certainly like them, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's been a while since I called, but you know what? I thought I'd grace the phone lines with my presence one more time.
You're overdue, Mooner.
You guys are doing a great job, and I wanted to call up and let you know what VCW is doing. We got all sorts of great stuff happening. We have the new hotline. Of course, Marty, you're involved with VCW.
Absolutely. What's the new hotline? Have you got it up and rolling?
We've got it up and rolling. It's 285-0289.
Gotcha.
And, you know, we're going to be doing things, giveaways, news, trivia, the whole 9 yards.
It's about time. I know Violent Championship Wrestling's had a website for some time, but now with the hotline, you should be able to promote yourselves to, you know, on an everyday basis, really.
Oh, yeah. Well, the local independent scene went through a dip, and now I think it's back on the rise. UCW is coming back. You got VCW around town. All sorts of great stuff happening.
Absolutely.
So when's the next show, Moon?
Was supposed to be the 18th, but they're backing it up. Of course, UCW is going to have theirs, I believe, on the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another local show. The Cart Rungs are running at the 768. That'll be on the 28th of October. So for more information on that, call our hotline, and we'll get that out to all the fans.
Okay, sounds great.
Hey,
so you're going to be at every show, right?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Are you kidding? I was retired in just like Al Pacino, they brought me back.
They keep bringing you back in.
You know what? Just when they think the dog is dead, they kick it and it wakes back up again. Guys, I took some time off and got things straight. And, you're talking about Scott Hall and Juventud and, their problems. The Icon understands what guys go through.
Well, the main thing is that you're doing a great job now, and you're back and enjoying yourself.
Oh, you can't keep the nearly legendary pop cultural phenomenon down.
Have you trademarked that yet? I'm just wondering.
Oh yeah, that's trademarked.
Okay, good.
That's trade. I'm no fool. I'm following in Randy Savage's footsteps. Okay, but I'm not. I haven't got up to that porno star level yet.
Keep working at it. You may do it. Yes.
That's a lot of work. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it, and have a great night. I'll enjoy the show.
Thank you very much, man. Take care of yourself.
Hey, independent icon back in the scene. Worked for UCW when we met him. Came in and did a couple shows with us. Doing a great job with VCW out of Piqua now. They've done a fantastic job of building a fan base. And the new VCW hotline, 285-0289.
And he alluded to it there. Unified Championship Wrestling started up another hotline this week. 640-2794 is their number. And as he also mentioned, they are planning on running a show November 18th, 801, right downtown, right down the street from us. And so I'm not really sure what the lineup's going to be yet, but Cam Collins, Raj Cox, all those guys back once again.
Cam Collins?
Cam the Man Collins. Well, I think he's done with the GED. I'm not sure yet. But
I haven't heard anything.
Hey, one thing I want to mention, too, about the whole Juventud Guerrera thing. One thing that bothered me about that, and I don't know if it did you as well, is the fact that WCW released him knowing that he has a drug problem. And I was hoping that even if they released him, they would at least go the extra mile and try and help him get the treatment that he needs, like the World Wrestling Federation did with Davey Boy Smith.
I haven't heard anything yet, and once again, we talked about it last week. I hope the same thing. You just don't put a guy out. You know there's a problem there. You know he's a performer. He's a great athlete, has done a good job, but there's something wrong. You try to help him. Even though you may not employ him, try to help him.
Right, absolutely. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, more of your phone calls, 457-1065. It's the Wrestling Guys.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Guys, brought to you by Dyer Garofalo, Mann and Schultz, and a lot going on. Stead them over there on the internet for some late-breaking news on the sale or potential sale of WCW to the WWF. In the meantime, we're going to go back to the phone lines again. Let's get to line 3 from West Carrollton, Devlin. You've got the Wrestling Guys.
Come on, Marty.
What's up, Dev?
Not much. I haven't heard anything much about Droz lately. I want to know if you guys heard anything about him, about how he's doing.
You know, one of the last things I heard, and I talked to, he has a business manager, and basically his business manager is a boyhood friend that grew up with him. There's a conglomerate of people that are really assisting him. His physical condition is really not any better whatsoever. One of the things that the World Wrestling Federation did was they gave a large amount of money to put kind of one of those type of things that'll take you upstairs and down and get you around your household.
Oh, they're building him an elevator.
Right.
I mean, an actual elevator in his house.
And the reason they ended up moving into a new home here just recently, and the only reason that we've really maintained some of our contact with him is that, and I'm sure you heard this, David Arquette did some work for the WCW and was paid a promotional fee to make some appearances. All the money from that promotional fee he ended up dividing up and gave a third of it to Droz, a third of it to Pam Hildebrand, whose husband Brian Hildebrand, WCW referee, and then the other third to Melanie Pillman, Brian Pillman's ex-wife.
Well, he's got a lot of talent, and I hope he gets better soon and comes back to the Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
Well, if he comes back, he's not going to be able to wrestle unless, there's some great medical breakthroughs, which we all, of course, hope for. But obviously, I think that if he could come back as a writer or a commentator or something like that, he would be an asset. He's a great guy. He really is.
Yeah, he is. And, you look at Beyond the Mat and you think about some of the things that's happened, and you just hope and wish the best for him.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks for calling in, Dev.
I was actually watching that the other day, and the part with Droz when he calls home and he's just so proud, Mama, you're going to be proud of me and all this stuff. And, but now watching that, of course, what's happened with him in the accident, and it really becomes almost... what's the word? That's a good word for it.
It is.
One thing we want to mention real quick, OneWrestling.com talking about a signing that Sid had in Detroit today. And apparently one of the people involved with OneWrestling.com asked Sid about the deal between the World Wrestling Federation and WCW. Sid told him that the announcement will be made on Friday that the World Wrestling Federation is now owning World Championship Wrestling.
Really? And where did you end up hearing that, Ed?
That was on OneWrestling.com. I just said that.
Did you really?
It was on OneWrestling.com.
OneWrestling.com?
Reporting, yes.
Well, hey, man, I'm trying to get the paperwork over here, so I should have known. You're always over on the Internet.
I know.
You love it, don't you?
You know, Julia, I got to watch her because she's always downloading this stuff that just really isn't appropriate.
Like what?
I can't say.
Snitch.
I can't say.
You know what? Pictures of you. And Julie's struggling. Something's happened with the phone.
Is our guest on?
I think she lost him.
Okay, so she lost our guest. So anyway, let's talk about something real quick. We mentioned Unified Championship Wrestling running a show November 18th. Outlaw Championship Wrestling had a big show, their one-year anniversary this past weekend, and their next show is now scheduled for November the 4th. And so it should be exciting.
Yeah, you know, we've talked about it. OCW doing a great job out there. They ran their one-year anniversary. Well, I'm sure we'll hear a little more about that tonight out at Yellow Springs. And once again, this is the time of year, the hotbed that is the Miami Valley heating up again in the independent scene. And then the Heartland Wrestling Association going their huge Grand Victoria show on October 27th. King Kong Bundy, Tony Atlas coming in for that show. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, a rare appearance, I'll mention, by Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And just a bevy of midgets, Ray Steele, Shark Boy, and...
Ray Steele's a midget?
Well, I'm going to tell him you said that.
No, what did you say?
No, you said
a bevy of midgets, Ray Steele, blah, blah.
There was a comma there.
Nah, I
paused.
Julia?
Look.
Back me up on this.
She's not backing
me up on
You're not getting backed up. Look, stifle yourself, Edith. We're talking here.
Julia's meathead, all right.
No, you're the meathead.
Do we have our guest on the line?
Yes, we
Let's
do.
have our guest. Let's bring some civility to the show.
Yes, we should. Let's bring somebody that knows what they're talking about so that I can have somebody to conjure and talk to that understands the world of professional wrestling.
He's the author of the book Black Stars of Pro Wrestling. It's a look back at wrestlers, black professional wrestlers from the late 19th century until today. His name is Julian L.D. Shabazz. You are on the Wrestling Guys. How you doing, Julian?
Greetings and salutations, guys. I'm ecstatic to be on this fabulous show.
Hey, thanks, Julian. See, now I've got somebody
to talk to. That's an opening. I like that opening. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you for adding some class to the show tonight.
You're very welcome.
So, Julian, tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, the book started off in 1998 because, as a longtime wrestling fan, two of my childhood favorites passed away in 1998. Bobo Brazil died in early 98, and the Junkyard Dog was killed in an auto accident that summer.
Mm-hmm.
And those were two individuals I loved growing up. And I said, wow, you know, when I looked at the news media, the mainstream media, there was very little coverage of both Bobo's death and the Junkyard Dog's death. And what coverage there was, it wasn't really positive. And I realized you really couldn't go into a bookstore or a library and find information on hardly any professional wrestlers at that time, but very little and none on any black wrestlers. So I started it off as a tribute to those two individuals, but then I got to thinking, well, what about Ron Simmons? What about The Rock? What about Luther Lindsay? What about Bearcat Wright? What about the ladies? What about the midgets in wrestling? So I just tried to put together a small encyclopedia of sorts of black professional wrestlers from the 18th century to today.
It sounds like almost like a labor of love for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I, because it was born out of that. You know, growing up, I'm from South Carolina, so I grew up in Jim Crockett's Mid-Atlantic territory.
Thunderbolt Patterson.
Thunderbolt
You
Patterson,
gotta love
a
it.
hero of mine, Tony Atlas. Ric Flair is still a god to me and millions of others in this part of the country. So it was a labor of love, and it was born out of me being disgruntled with the coverage of professional wrestlers. Not that I wanted to capitalize off the popularity of professional wrestling, although a little money doesn't hurt anything.
You gotta love it.
It was really based on my desire to put a tribute together for black professional wrestlers past and present. I wanted people to realize that the Godfather was a McDonald's High School All-American basketball player. I wanted people to realize that Ernest the Cat Miller legitimately is a three-time world karate champion. I wanted people to realize that Paisley, Charmel Sullivan, is a legitimate former Miss Black America, a beauty queen, a real beauty queen.
Well,
So those were the things I wanted to deal with in the book, and not so much the negative stereotypes, but for people to get a lot of background on these black professional wrestlers.
Julian, during the course of you writing the book, did you have the opportunity to meet a lot of the wrestlers that you're talking about?
I did have the opportunity, but I chose not to during the course of the writing because I didn't want it to be tainted. What I did do was deal with a lot of promoters, a lot of old long-time historians, and individuals who would probably give me information that wouldn't be, how should I say it, biased or bogus.
So you tried to get an overall perspective of the people that you're talking about then.
Yes, and since its publication, I have talked to quite a few black professional wrestlers and professional wrestlers in general, past and present.
You know, one of the names, I'm just going through this list of impressive names, and Shawn and I are, we love it too, obviously. Ernie the Big Cat Ladd.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything in there, and he was such an impressive person, his presence in the ring, probably because of his massive size, along the same lines, that you're talking about in the same time frame as Bobo Brazil.
Yes. And Ernie wouldn't hesitate on television to remind everyone listening that he was 6'9", 325 pounds.
Did you catch Ernie? He was at one of the debates between Gore and Bush. He was either the first or second one, I can't remember. But Ernie was there, and as Bush was going through the audience afterwards shaking hands, Ernie Ladd was there. Well, I thought that was cool to see him there.
Ernie has been a longtime fan, a family friend of the Bush family, from what I understand.
Really?
But Ernie Ladd was an impressive individual. Ernie played in the old AFL. He was an AFL All-Pro.
Right.
Before getting into professional wrestling, long before Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders got into the dual sport thing, Ernie was doing it for years. And he was one of the very first black wrestlers to be allowed, if you will, to be a heel, particularly here in the southern part of the country and in parts of the Midwest, the American heartland. Promoters were fearful up until the late 60s and early 70s of even allowing black wrestlers to be a heel because they feared that there would be a riot if some evil black guy was beating up on a nice, wholesome, good American white boy.
Hey, Julian, let's look at some of the stuff going on today. Obviously, the World Wrestling Federation, with its storyline with Rikishi and Steve Austin, is playing the race card a little bit. How do you feel about that?
That whole thing was pretty much, I was like everyone else. I was flabbergasted. I was caught off guard. I was surprised to actually see it come about. It was very interesting to me because when Fatu went through some of the names, there was this interesting reaction from the live audience there. And Jim Ross was saying one thing, or trying to get one reaction out of the fans at home, but the fans in the audience seemed to be reacting in a total different manner. And I thought that was interesting.
Well, the one thing I had trouble with, and we mentioned it last week on the show when we talked about it, was I don't like it whenever they try to have you cheer or boo somebody because of their racial beliefs. And I think that's a dangerous line to tread on.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what really impressed me by the live audience. And it may have been because they were in California. It could have been different if they had been in South Carolina.
Good point.
But to hear the name, the roll call, Bruno Sammartino, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, Bob Backlund, even Hulk Hogan, and to hear the pop from the crowd, and even when he mentioned the Samoans, the Wild Samoans, Chief Peter Maivia, and Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and there were many people clapping for Fatu as he was leaving the arena, whereas Ross was calling him an SOB.
Well, I think the promoters need to realize the fans' memories aren't as short as they think.
They really are not, and the problem with that was he really wasn't lying. What he was saying wasn't necessarily false.
Right. Hey, we're talking with Julian Shabazz, author of Black Stars of Professional Wrestling, here on The Wrestling Guys. We all know Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in baseball. Who was the guy that maybe broke the color barrier in wrestling, or was there one?
I guess there are several color barriers. The first black professional wrestler that I'm aware of was a guy who began his career in 1881, a former slave from my home state, South Carolina, who was named Viral Small, but he used the ring name Black Sam, and he started his wrestling career in the New York area. And so obviously that was breaking a color barrier. But one of the more impressive wrestlers that I found was a guy by the name of Edward Bearcat Wright, who in the early 60s, he was working a great program with Walter Killer Kowalski all over parts of the Northeast. And it was a main event feud everywhere. But when they went over to Indiana, Bearcat Wright was immediately dropped down on the card because the promoters in Indiana would not allow black wrestlers to compete against white wrestlers at that time. Blacks could only wrestle blacks and whites could only wrestle whites. in Indiana at that time. Bearcat Wright stood up and announced he'd never wrestle in another segregated arena again. He was banned by the State Athletic Commission. The NAACP came out in support of him, and a year later, he was the very first black professional wrestler to be recognized as holding a version of the World Championship when he won it in the Tony Santos promotion in New England in 1961. So Bearcat Wright broke down barriers in the early 60s, and Thunderbolt Patterson really did try to unionize professional wrestlers in the early 70s. Alpha and Seeker were part of his International Wrestling League, a union, if you will, that was in the Atlanta part of the country. So he broke down barriers. Ron Simmons, the Farouk, even, what he did in 92 with Bill Watts in the WCW was a barrier, if you will, because he was a recognized world heavyweight champion in the sport.
And you look at people now like The Rock and Booker T and New Jack and the way they can succeed in their popularity. It's really great that we've been able to see a progression and great to see their success. How can people get the book?
They can get the book at bookstores worldwide. All of the major chains obviously have it. Your Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Crown, Borders, and even the smaller bookstores. It is available online at Amazon.com, and credit card orders can be made by calling 1-800-431-1579.
Yeah, let me interject one thing, Julian. One of the things we've seen, obviously, you have the WWF and maybe still the WCW after tonight. We don't know because of a lot of the talk about the WWF buying them. You have ECW, and you have literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of independent organizations around the country. Some a little more prominent than others, XPW, which had come out, and a few of the others. A lot of talk right now about the Urban Professional League, and I'm sure you've probably heard about this.
I have. Very little, but I have, yes.
It's basically a league that will be comprised of minority wrestlers. And, do you think there's a place for that type of league currently?
I'm really not sure if there's a place for any league that's not owned by a billionaire in this particular society right now. With the popularity, with the heat, wrestling goes through so many different cycles. Every 10 or so years, it becomes the hottest thing in America, and then it goes through a lean period. Maybe during a lean period, something like that can work. I don't know, during this particular time with these billionaires, one billionaire talking about buying another billionaire's company. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if it will sell to the public. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those are some of our thoughts. I mean, really, you've echoed a lot of the same things that Shawn and I have been saying over the past few weeks.
Well, that's because you guys are so smart. Up with you guys.
Well, any league that doesn't have a top name like a Rock, like an Austin, like a Sting, anybody that can't bring in a name like that, they're going to have a tough time. We saw it with Ted DiBiase and his WXO promotion.
Yes.
Well, yes. He is Julian Shabazz. Again, the book, Black Stars of Professional Wrestling. One more time, give us the number if somebody wants to order this book.
1-800-431-1579. Amazon.com, bookstores everywhere. If they don't have it at your local bookstore, shame on them. Tell them to order it so they can get it immediately.
Well, Julian,
guys, thanks so much for having me.
Julian, we want to thank you. It's been a great opportunity for us to discuss the book. We'll keep plugging it and hopefully talk to you again soon.
And I want to talk to that young lady I spoke to at the station.
She better watch it, buddy. She is the 69th wonder of the world.
Hey, if I ever get into the ring, I want her to be my valet.
Come to Dayton. We'll set that up, Julian.
We'll do it, Julian.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care,
you.
man. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Julian Shabazz, Black Stars of Professional Wrestling. We got a break.
Yes, we do. You're listening to the Tag Team Champions of Talk Radio, the Wrestling Guys, on Buckeye Country, WBKI.
Son, I don't mind paying for your education.
I appreciate it.
And welcome back to the Wrestling Guys. We were just talking to the author of Black Stars of Professional Wrestling, and a very nice interview with Julian Shabazz, and a lot of information in that book. I encourage you to go out. I know we've been looking at it, and we definitely want to talk a little more about it later in the show, but if you ever wondered what was really going on with some of the black legends in professional wrestling, this is the book to have.
Guys like, Junkyard Dog, Thunderbolt Patterson, Tony Atlas, the list goes on and on and on, and he did a great job compiling this.
Bearcat Wright, the first black holder of the World Heavyweight title.
And Julian likes Julia. How about Julia Shabazz? You like that name?
It's got a little ring to it.
You can have that for the last name.
That Shabazz thing. It's just got a little
Mrs. Shabazz.
Yeah, I like
You guys
it.
are being silly.
It has a little funk to it.
You're being silly.
And the new ring valet for Julian Shabazz.
It's Julia
Shabazz.
I think
It's too
it
close.
worked.
The names are too similar.
I think it'd work.
Julia.
I think we can make it work.
Hey, JJ. You could be J&J. JJ.
Hey, Showtime Entertainment, they released a big press release, and they say that, you ready for this?
Yes.
Wrestling in the pay-per-view revenue category, it's 90% of all pay-per-view revenue.
90?
Is wrestling. Is wrestling.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
By numbers, pure numbers alone, there's a wrestling pay-per-view 3 times a month.
Correct.
Okay.
$30 a pop.
At least. All right, and then there's some odds and ends tossed in there. And what other pay-per-views are there? There's the occasional boxing.
If you combine wrestling and boxing, those two compile 96% of it, with wrestling being 90% of it.
Yeah, then you get an occasional, Star Wars deal or somebody's concert or the Backstreet Boys or something for like $9.95.
Or, the movies are like $3, so yeah. So
is that considered a pay-per-view?
What?
The movies?
Yeah.
Sure?
But it's only like $3 a movie, so you do the math, and so it makes sense that wrestling would have more revenue than a movie or
Spice Channel, is that considered pay-per-view?
I don't know, Julia, you tell us.
Yeah, Julia, is that what you? Oh yeah.
Do you get the employee discount? I'm sorry.
Oh
anyway.
my God.
Anyway, speaking of pay-per-views, this Sunday, No Mercy from the World Wrestling Federation. Eddie Guerrero will not be at the pay-per-view.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Positive.
He injured his hamstring Monday on Raw.
Yeah.
He tried to give it a go last night. SmackDown tapings, was not able to do so. So his match with Billy Gunn has been scrapped for this Sunday at the pay-per-view.
You don't think somebody else will fill in?
As of the official card we saw a little bit earlier, no.
All right.
They are not going to have that match.
And those of you that have never had a hamstring pull, believe me, it is terrible pain. And the only thing that solves it, that will cure it rather, is time off.
Because it's one of those things that when you think it's healed, it's not. And you see a lot of times in basketball in the NBA, people come back too soon. They end up pulling it again or ripping it again.
Track stars, they're the worst.
And the one thing, too, Eddie Guerrero got hurt Monday in Detroit. It's the same building where he dislocated his elbow earlier this year.
He'll probably end up taking, next time they're in Detroit, he's not wrestling.
Yeah, you got to take that day
off. Man. Me and Mamacita. Oh, no.
You're not with Mamacita.